Hi, all. It's Matt Rogers.
Rogers?
Yes. How are you? I filed for this office last June. Having worked in the General Assembly for a number of years, I'm aware that every effort is made on the behalf of the department and others to make sure that all of the documentation is received. I sent in this documentation last year. And since that time, I provided campaign finance filings on time, accurately. I presented my candidate petitions, things to the registrar, and then now in this case, and at the last minute, I was made aware after many months, almost a year of being a candidate, that there were, a clerical error could decide this election. And so I would ask the board to obviously, it sounds like my fellow Arlingtonian, Mr. Brink, or that you feel that in the future, we should not make this a habit. I would say that the 2021-2020 period would be a unfortunate time to begin a practice of stringency on this. And I would ask the board, the committee, the will of the committee to extend the deadline. You already have my paperwork, and so we could go negative day. Thank you.
So exactly,
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
folks are delinquent here because I think that adds up to 3. If we include Julie Perry.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we're looking at a total of 9, or Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, a total of 9.
And Mr. Chairman, to be clear, we have 2 requests for consideration, but the extension in 24.2-503 that the board is allowed or has the ability to provide is a blanket extension. It's not necessarily one over the other.
Could you just clarify by giving all the names of the candidates who are delinquent?
Yes, so far, and some of these folks we've heard from have said that they have mailed it by the deadline. The department just hasn't received it yet, so that could still very well be the case. And that is a postmark deadline. So if they got it postmarked by the deadline and we receive it, that would still be a timely filing, and these folks would come off of the list of those who would need an extension. My list includes Sarah Dietz in District 14. These are all House of Delegates candidates. Jordan Gray in the 93rd, Randall Wolf in the 20th, Julie Anna Perry in the 86th, Matt Rogers in the 47th, Caitlin Coakley in the 65th, Ibrahim Samira in the 86th, and Michael Jones in the 69th.
Thank you.
So yes, Chris Piper, question.
Dr. O'Bannon? You muted yourself. Dr. O'Bannon, can you unmute, please?
I'm sorry, maybe it's a good thing, but I was going to tell the commissioner that I'm getting a deja vu that we've been here before, and that it's not a good spot, and that elect was looking at some sort of electronic interface where we could obviate some of this paperwork. And did we not get that far down the line on that to change the system? Or I quite frankly don't know what to do, because that's a lot of names, and I guess maybe we got to the blanket extension in the past because of this problem. So just need a little bit of reflection and thoughts from folks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have, and Mr. Vice Chair, to address, we've investigated a lot of different areas. There's a lot of obviously electronic priorities that we have. That was while we were looking at that, obviously we weren't able to implement anything for this year. It's obviously something that would be easier for us to implement with the new Veris and obviously more costly. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and if I guess I'll be a little bit more frank than I usually am in these public forums. The candidate filing process is convoluted. There's a lot of things. You've been through it, I think, a few times. There's a lot of paperwork. There's shifting deadlines, etc. That said, I want to praise the staff, specifically Dave Nichols and Paul Saunders and the election administration team. They worked very closely with the parties, communicating, over communicating. We had many discussions to address these issues. At the end of the day, if people didn't get them in, I don't think it was a lack of information sharing or knowledge sharing on our part. I think they just didn't get it in on time, and I think again, this is all in your court. What I have discussed with staff, however, is looking into perhaps drafting up a regulation for your all's consideration on what to do in these various cases and when an extension may or may not be appropriate. But again, 503 is very limited because as I read it, it's a blanket extension. So if you give an extension, it applies across the board. So not something that I had been thinking about earlier, but something for you all to be considering as you're going through the various requests.
Mr. Chair, might I address this body?
Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Jones. I currently serve in the city of Richmond on city council, and like Mr. Rogers, I've been running a campaign for a while now. I went to our registrar's office in January to get ahead of everything and to get as much information as I could on what needed to be filed and where. And again, I will own that it ultimately rests on the candidate and the campaign, not on anyone on this call today. And so just let me say that first and foremost. Second piece, in meeting with the individuals who run who run campaigns or elections here in the city, sat down, spoke with them about what needed to go where. They shared that some needed to go to the state Dems, and I took what was supposed to go to the state Dems to the state Dems. And Mr. Donald Gaines was supposed to be on this call, but he's not here to speak to. Am I getting feedback? Can everyone hear me? Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Director Brown.
And so in my mind, I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and that I was told by, and this is in light of the fact that we lost our registrar and we have an interim at this point. If I had known that wasn't the place, if they had told me that they were not the ones to receive the information, I would have taken it to where it was needed. And I had enough time to get that done and to accomplish it. And the same thing, my campaign manager found some of the same issues and challenges. And so our intent was not, and really our issue wasn't a lack of intentionality. It wasn't we fell behind and anything of that nature. We gave it to the body we thought was supposed to receive it. They received it, gave us a receipt for it. And in discussions, it should have been forwarded on to the Department of Elections. And again, I'm not in the fault game. I don't believe in passing fault. The responsibility is fully on the campaign and my director and myself. And so it's not even totally my director's fault.